Hello and welcome. Thank you for being here. My name is Michelle Shelton. I'm a registered dietitian and certified coach, and I support people on their journey to health in a way that honors their whole system, their whole body to well-being. It connects them deeper with their body cues. It heals their relationship with themselves, with food, and with their bodies. And so today, on that journey, I want to talk to you about dieting and why I recommend my clients do not follow diets, and we have a different approach to health that helps them nurture their healthiest body and their healthiest version of themselves. So let's talk a little bit about diets. First of all, talking about what to me is a diet. So when I think about diets, there are four things that I think about, and I'll explain those to you, what they are and why I think they work against you on your journey to health. So the first one is intense calorie restriction or calorie counting, right? That's a pretty common thing when you think about health challenges, or even sometimes we hear them branded as like it's a lifestyle change, right? But there's always a component of calorie restriction in it and calorie counting. And that is not something that I think is really helpful. What it does is it connects you with external rules and external cues for internal processes, right? Our calorie needs from day to day, it's normal for them to fluctuate. As we restrict calories, which is what those health challenges are, calorie restriction over the long term, it actually starts to rev up that hunger drive in our bodies, right? And starts to activate that desire to eat. And then we're starting to work against our bodies, right? Anytime we're working against our bodies, it sort of sets us up at some point for that to stop working for us. So calorie restriction and calorie counting, where you're sort of looking externally and following these external rules, are one of the things that I would advise clients not to do. The second thing is related, but I think more broadly thinking about anything that influences you to work against your body, work against your natural body rhythm and your body cues. So when we think about dieting, it's usually there are certain rules that you follow, right? There's certain foods that you can and cannot eat. There are certain times when you can and cannot eat, and certain amounts, right, that you were told to eat. And all of those are sort of defined regardless of what your body actually needs, right? And understanding what your body needs is not something that you can sort of get from somebody else or get from a book or get from, there's absolutely health principles to follow for sure. We know that there are certain things that you should do to care for your body, but day by day, moment by moment, it's hard to know what you actually need calorie wise, right? Your body does know though. Your body knows, your diet doesn't, right? So anything that works against your body, right, that says you can't eat now, even though your body's like, I'm starving, right? I'm so hungry. And the diet says, sorry, not time to eat. That's working against your body, right? Or there might be times when you're like, I'm so full, I actually don't really want to eat, or I'm not interested in food, or I'm just really not thirsty, but I have to get these goals in, or whatever it is, right? Working against your body, again, sets you up for at some point when that's just going to become so hard to maintain, and you're going to stop the diet, right? It's going to stop working for you. The next thing to watch for are strict rules. And again, as you can see, these are all pretty related, but any strict rules, right, where it has to be a certain way, it has to follow it has to look like a certain pattern or flow. Those work on your best days, on days where you have a lot of control. But the reality is, on most days, I know in my life as a parent of young children and as a coach and all of the things that I have going on, right, day by day, I need something that's flexible and responsive to a busy and active life. And strict rules are not either any of those things, right? And so then we start to sort of narrow in our lives and what we can and cannot do in order to follow these rules. And we start to disconnect from that flexibility and the richness of our lives, right, in order to maintain it. And then the last thing is that it's not sustainable over the long term. So anytime you look at these different options, these health challenges or diets or lifestyle changes, if it's not something that you can see yourself doing over the long term, then it's not a sustainable change, right? If it's so different than your natural flow, your natural rhythm, if it's restricting foods that you actually really love and enjoy, or are a big part of your culture, are a big part of, your traditions. Those are things that are probably not going to be sustainable over the long term or enjoyable over the long term, which again, if food becomes that big of a piece of your life that you can't enjoy everything else, right, it's not a good solution. So those are some of the things to look for when you're thinking about, is this a diet? Is this something that's going to be helpful for me? So let's just talk a little bit about what diets do to your body. We know that diets can have some negative effects on our body over the long term. Calorie restriction over the past decades, right, of kind of watching the patterns of dieting, we see that people lose weight. As they lose weight, they lose muscle mass. It's really hard to maintain for all the reasons we just talked about, right? You're working against your body. It's not sustainable long term. All these things, right, come into play. And so they stop dieting, they regain the weight. And they get on a diet again, they lose the weight, they lose more muscle mass, and then it's not sustainable, they regain the weight, right? So this diet cycling, what we see over the long term is a reduction in lean muscle mass, a worsening of metabolic health indicators, and overall they would have been better off never entering that diet cycle in the first place, right? And so clearly not like a long-term path to health. One of the things to just be aware of as you start a diet, kind of this typical cycle and flow, it's really common to experience what's called diet euphoria, where there's sort of an initial excitement about the diet. Parts of you have wanted to make this change for a long time, and so you're making it now, and so there's kind of excitement about that. You're feeling the change. There's maybe some initial weight loss, maybe some lightness in your system. It's really normal to feel really good at first. Over time, what happens is your natural body hunger starts to kick in, right? That's a normal, healthy physiological response. That's your body saying, I think I'm starving. I think there's a famine, right? There's even though it's like a diet-induced famine, your body doesn't know that. It just knows that it's starving, right? And it starts to rev up the hunger cues, and it starts to rev up the desire to eat, right? It's trying to save you. It's trying to keep you alive. And so now your physiology is starting to push back against the diet, right? So the euphoria starts to fade a little bit, and your physiology starts to rev up to say, eat, I'm hungry, right? This doesn't feel good, I'm starving. I think it's a famine, right? All the stuff. The other thing that happens is the more we restrict certain foods, right? There's like a psychological desire that the more restricted it is, we start to desire it more, right? So cravings now start to rev up. Again, with that initial diet euphoria, you don't experience any of those things at first, right? Because it's just sort of that euphoric honeymoon phase of, wow, this feels really good. Wears off, hunger starts to rev up, cravings start to rev up, right? Those are all normal responses. There's nothing wrong with you. Those are actually signs that there's something right with you, right? Your body is starting to sort of try to rebalance, right? The lack of balance that you had put into place, right? Diets are a really high control approach, and your body's like, too much control, right? Too much control. I have to rebalance that by revving up that drive to eat, revving up that desire for cravings to bring some balance back into your system, right? And so now you've got this kind of pushback, and it becomes much harder to maintain the diet. And so at this stage, what we start to see happening is you start to have more cheat days, right? You start to follow the diet less rigidly until over time, you're no longer on the diet. And then it leads to this thought and this belief, I failed the diet. If only I had had more self-control, if only I had more willpower, right? All the things, right? I failed the diet. Something's wrong with me. When in reality, what I want you to start thinking and seeing is that there's a whole lot right with you, right? That is your natural wisdom trying to bring balance back. It's your natural physiology trying to make sure that you are fed, right? It's actually an attempt to bring balance back into your system, even though it's sort of at the extremes, right? Extreme control to maybe even extreme chaos, right? So there's actually something very, very right with you when all of this stops working. And so instead of thinking, I failed the diet, I want you to start realizing that the diet failed you. Diets fail humans. We are not meant to eat in that way. It is not a natural and healthy way to nourish our bodies. Okay, so you did not fail the diet. The diet failed you. Now, the thing that I want to really highlight here is that sometimes when we hear all of this, right, it feels like the natural response, there's two that I see very common. One is just to not care, right? Well, if they don't work anyway, then why do I care? Why don't I just eat whatever I want, right? It sounds like that's what you're saying, just eat what you want. And that's not what I'm saying. Although, yeah, eat what sounds good to you, for sure. Incorporate that into how you make your choices, but don't stop caring about your health. There are principles of health that we all can bring into our lives to feel better, to feel stronger, to feel more energy, and to feel more whole. We want that, right? So don't stop caring. That's not the solution. The other thing is there's kind of that just, I'm going to not care and just like whatever, I'm giving up. And then there's also what we see, maybe what I call the diet rebel that comes in. And it's like, not only am I not going to care, I'm actually going to revel in these behaviors that I'm kind of like not going to care about my health at all, and kind of a rebellious energy around it, which again is not helpful, right? Health matters. It does have a really important effect in how you show up in your life. So the solution is not to stop caring. So then what is the solution, right? That begs the question, what does a good solution look like? And let me just outline that for you here, and then click subscribe, and I will continue to give you content that will teach you how to reconnect with your body and nourish it from a place of wisdom. But this is, at a high level, this is what a good solution will look like. First of all, it works with your body, not against it. So it reconnects and understands at the deepest level, what does hunger really feel like? What does fullness feel like, right? We tend to follow in patterns where we really don't know what either feel like, and we wait for over hunger and we eat to over fullness, right? So we're kind of constantly uncomfortable, right? Because neither of those are really comfortable. But understanding what more subtle hunger feels like and more subtle fullness, and stopping at those levels, can keep you in the zone of comfort and help you connect to your body's natural wisdom. It works with your physiological needs, right? So understanding not just what I need physically, but also emotionally, right? So am I eating for hunger or am I eating for stress? And there's a different way to manage some of those other needs that I have, right? So it works with your body instead of against it. It works with your health instead of against it. It builds trust in yourself. One of the things that I think is the most damaging about diets is we sort of get this belief, right? I can't be trusted around food. I can't be trusted around desserts. I can't be trusted, right? I can't trust myself, and so I need these external rules. I need the calories. I need the structure. I need to just avoid it altogether. And that comes from a place of lack of trust in ourselves. And that is never like a sustainable place for health and well-being, right? If you think about a holistic picture, a whole person picture of health, it's tuning into yourself and trusting yourself more and more, right? Trusting your physiology, trusting your gifts and your talents, trusting your needs and your desires, trusting your intuition, right? All of that process is, to me, the journey to health, right? In a much bigger level beyond just how you eat. And so a good, sustainable program for health builds trust in yourself. And then the last thing that it does is it increases connection. It increases connection with yourself. And if you think about the relationships that you care about the most, that you invest the most in, you invest in connection, right? You spend time with them, you care for them, you're kind to them, right? That's how you nourish a really healthy relationship. And it's the same for yourself, it's the same for your health. A sustainable, good solution to health and well-being will increase your connection with yourself. That's so important in my mind. Really connecting into understanding, what do I need in this moment? Showing up for yourself, right? Instead of sort of ignoring yourself all day long, and then at the end of the day, tuning in and being like, oh, I'm really hungry, I guess I should eat now, or oh, I'm really tired, or I didn't meet my water goals, I should drink them really quickly right now, right? Tuning in all day long to yourself, connecting in, understanding what you need, responding to that, so that you can then show up as your best self in your life, so you can bring that best self in the ways that you serve the world around you, right? That's a really important connection to self, connection to others, connection to the universe, whatever your belief system is, right? A sustainable path to health to health increases connection. The last thing that I want to say, and just I'll end on this note, is that it is work. Absolutely, it does take work. Caring for yourself, right, is a process of, it takes time, it takes investment, it takes some energy, but it is work that leads to overall wholeness, right? Whereas diets also take work, but in my mind, they sort of take us out of wholeness, right? They take us into this place of restriction and disconnection and lack of trust, and then ultimately kind of puts us in this cycle of like success, failure, right? That's not like a place where I personally would want to invest my time and my energy to get that kind of an output, right? I want to invest my time and my energy into a place of deeper wholeness, deeper well-being, deeper connection. And that is what a good, sustainable system to health should look like. So if you want to learn more and more strategies and ways to build this and achieve this in your life, please click subscribe and continue to follow this channel. You can also go to nourishwhoyouare.com, and I'll put a link into the notes for this video. You can read a little bit more about my approach to health and well-being. You can sign up for a free coaching consult if you're interested in working with me and understanding what that would look like and how we can build that approach to health in your life. Thank you again for being here, and I will see you in the next video.